My name is Sue Kerr, and I am a lifelong Pittsburgh resident. I'm a member of the LGBTQ community. I'm a social worker by training. I have had a degree and been working for about 20 years in the nonprofit and human services world. I'm also a local blogger, and I do some consulting on social media for nonprofit organizations. In terms of acceptance, there have been some recent significant successes for the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender community, LGBT. Most notably, of course, is the ruling by the Supreme Court on marriage equality. And there were two pieces. Residents of California are now able to marry. The other was a federal recognition that now the federal government will recognize same-sex marriages. The recent data shows that most Americans support marriage equality. But what's I think even more interesting is that the same data shows that the vast majority of Americans and Pennsylvania residents support equality. So they may not necessarily support marriage, but they do support laws that protect us in terms of employment so that we can keep our jobs. They don't think it's fair that we should be fired because we're gay. They think we should be able to rent apartments and just go about our daily lives and be treated like everyone else. The Supreme Court hearing is what brought a lot of attention to the issue. But I want to take you back a little bit in terms of what I think were some defining moments. And I would say that, I'm going to tell you a secret that there really is a gay agenda. Everyone talks about that. I've been to several meetings locally around it over the last decade. And in fact, what it is a lot of people in the LGBTQ community getting together and talking about these issues. And these are mostly nonprofit organizations, discussing what our mission statements are and how we can work together and where we need to put our energy. Where should we invest it? And that's starting to pay off. The biggest moment is what people often refer to as the Will and Grace effect from the television show in the 1990s on NBC. It was the first time we had a show that had gay characters. Now, it was pretty radical for its time. What it did is it created a relationship for many people. A lot of folks don't know anyone who's gay, or probably more accurately, they don't know that they know someone is gay or lesbian or bisexual or trans. So Will and Grace created these relationships, and I think you can look at other examples of that. Daytime television, the soaps introduced gay characters in the 90s and into the 2000s. That made a big difference. Movies, TV, music industry. So people got to know LGBT people in terms of the culture. And then I also think as more and more people came out, that made a big difference. Those relationships are what have changed the hearts and minds of Americans. It's the fact that this isn't happening to some abstract person living in some other place. This is happening to the neighbor or the lady that watches their kids or the parents at the school or their coworker or, sometimes their own family. And that makes a difference. In terms of outreach, I believe that what's been most successful has been the organizations making concerted effort to tell our stories. We've used social media very effectively. The latest data shows the LGBT community uses Facebook almost 25% more than the general population. There are some interesting statistics there in terms of how we're using Facebook and Twitter. That's how we're sharing our messages and getting information out. That's nationally, but I think it's also happening here in Pittsburgh as well. Nonprofit organizations historically don't have a lot of resources to invest in communication strategies, marketing. We don't even learn how to do that. I didn't take those classes in grad school. We learn on our feet, and we learn from volunteers. So part of it has been putting a concerted effort into getting those stories out there. The It Gets Better project, for example, is a good example of that, where people recorded videos, adult LGBT folks, two young adults, telling them that in essence life gets better. And then a lot of allies began recording. The president, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, the Pittsburgh Pirates. That was a project I worked on personally. That was very rewarding to me that they took the time to make a video. Other things that worked have been an increased focus on targeting our elected officials. And that's been establishing relationships with them, letting them know that we're here, that we're in their district, and that the laws that they vote on have an effect on our lives. And then helping them understand how we need legal protections and what we need to be accepted in the community. It's really hard for an elected official who wants to vote no to sit down and talk with two moms and their kids and explain. That's kind of putting them in a really bad position. And hopefully it's putting him in a position where he has a chance to think about it and realize that he is voting, again, on real people's lives. So I think our better use of advocacy tools has helped. But I would also say that part of it goes back to the cultural piece. that we've been very effective into tapping into individuals in society and culture who are advocates and allies. There's a rock concert down at Stage AE put on by a group called Fun, and they set up an ally tent, and the GLCC, the Gay and Lesbian Community Center, will be there. That's pretty exciting. There's going to be tens of thousands of people at that concert, and they'll have a chance, to let them know that we're here, what we're doing. And I think that's really important, and it's great that that group does that, and they do it at all their sites around the country. So we've made a lot of progress as a community, especially the last few years. Things are a lot better in America. We have a lot of rights, we have a lot of allies. We have a lot of people pulling for us. There's work to be done. We need to continue doing our outreach, to continue targeting the right people and helping them understand our lives, and they see our faces. And when they hear these words come up in the media and in politics, they think of real people, not just faceless LGBT community.